In this video, we're going to take away the reliance of this particular SQL-based report on the IDs, and we're going to allow the partners that we include to be selected by more complex filters, by parameters that are prompted for by a wizard. The first thing we need to do is remove the dependence on IDs. So we'll edit our query there, and we'll get rid of that one, and I'll remove the parameter IDs. So to create a list of names, what we'll do is we'll allow them to select a from name and a to name and print all the contacts that are between those two selected names. And we want to pull those names from a pull-down list, and we need to create a pull-down list. We need to create a query to give us the names. So I'll edit that query, and what I'll do is I'll add a new query to it. For this partner names, select name from partner order by name, just for clarity. And now we can have a look at our reports. Makes no change. Well, we wouldn't expect it to. We haven't really done anything yet that would impact upon it. What we want to do now is define the two parameters that we can then use in the query. So I'm going to add a parameter, and I'm going to call this one name from, and we're going to give it a screen prompt from partner, and it's going to return for us a string. The default value of the from partner name is going to be blank. Critical, we want the display type to be a drop down, pulling its values from partner names. Select OK. Now what we need to do is we need to include those parameters in our query. So if I go through and I edit the query, I'm going to create our where clause again, where put on a couple of lines just for readability. Dot name is greater than or equal to, and we use our dollar brace part name from brace, and part name is less than or equal to dollar brace part name to brace. Okay, happy with that. Now if I go into the preview there, we've got a from partner and a to partner, and if I've changed that, I get a different range of partners included according to the selections there. The next type of parameter I'd like to look at is a Boolean. What I want to do is create two parameters to decide whether to include suppliers or customers based on the supplier and customer values against the partner. So I'm going to add a parameter and I'm going to call the first parameter inc sup include suppliers. It's going to be the prompt, and it's going to be a boolean, and the default value I want to give that is true. Now we don't need to assign a display type to this prompt, because we will show you that the connector will render this prompt as a valid OpenERP boolean when it generates the wizard. So I'll say OK to that new prompt for include supplier, and I'll just copy that one, paste it in, and we'll change one of them to be inc cost include customers, and the same. We will now include those in our query. Edit the query. Okay. And we'll just generate a straightforward Boolean expression where it says we want to include part customer and $brace inc cost or part.supplier and $brace inc sub. Okay, now if I preview this, let's do for all the partners. If we now change that to not include customers, we get a subset, and if we say don't include the suppliers, we now get none of them. If we now say only the customers, we get a different list again. And of course we could then sub-select on those, and that list now only includes customers after TEC SAS through to 01 Inc. The final parameter I'm going to include is going to look up using two different values from the query and use one on the display and the other one in the selection. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give an option of choosing a country. So I'll create a new, I'll edit the data source, and what I'll do now is add a new query which we will call country names, which will select ID. Let's give it a useful name, country ID, name, country name, from, is country, order by name. Okay. I then create a parameter which country. Oh, prompted country. Label is going to be which country. Now what I want to return from this is an integer. But the display type is going to be a drop down based on the country names. It's going to return the country ID but display the country name. Oh, and one other thing that we probably should do with this one is let's make sure that it is not a validated value. And now we need to include that country name selection into our query. So we'll go through, find our partner SQL query, edit mode, and so we'll say, and well, what we want is we want to know if the contact's country ID, not the name, country ID is equal to a $brace prompted country, which is the ID that that parameter will return, or if it's not entered, in other words, if the prompted country is 0. So if it's not selected, not entered at all, then we will get all of the customers. So we'll save that, go into the preview just to make sure that we're happy with things. Okay, it's got just Belgian contact showing up there. If I go Bermuda, there are none. If I edit the parameter so it goes back to the default, default value 0, okay. Now if I select from Agrelay to China export, we get them regardless of country because no country has been selected. Not that there will be any confusion with this one, but let's just our contacts wizard just so we distinguish it, and on the next video I'll show you how we can include this as a menu selection in OpenERP.